I'm sorry, we have microphones. I shouldn't have called on her before I realized you had a line queuing up over there. Go ahead.
My question is, I always look back and say, how did we get this?
It's not on.
I'll repeat it for them. Don't worry until they fix it. Keep going, Jack. I'll repeat it.
And as I look back, there were a number of mistakes. We don't want to repeat those mistakes again. Just tell me how we got here.
Okay, so the question is how we got to where we are. Well, I'll tell you, I've been asking myself the same question. I went back to look at the staff reports from when they decided to give these 90% pensions for the rest of your life, and there's actually staff reports that say, don't worry, it won't cost you anything extra. Now, I don't know what they were smoking back then, but I guarantee you, if I told you that I was going to raise your mortgage from 80% to 90% that you were responsible, you probably have to figure out how to come up with that 10%. I mean, it's simple. You can't get something for nothing. And people were really just sold down the river. And there were council members who didn't ask questions. There were pension boards that didn't really care. And they just approved things because for the common good. Was that what Jerry was saying earlier? For the common good, for the social justice. And let me tell you, one of the things I failed to say is we made a huge change in our pension system this last year that got very little press. And what we did is we restructured who's on the boards. For years, you had pension boards that had a majority of employees and retirees on them, and then a couple of council members who happened to almost always be the union-supported council members who got in these positions, and they ran the pension system. And the pension system is a completely separate, constitutionally protected entity that has its own authority that the city can't question. And they basically got to be the ones who selected the assumption rates for all the actuarial analysis, and they're the ones that were able to send the bill to the city. So when your employees and the employer split the cost of providing a pension for future benefits, but the employer is responsible for anything that was not achieved, the unfunded part, it's pretty easy to be very optimistic about what might happen and lower your bill while increasing the taxpayer bill. And that's what happened year after year after year. So we reconstituted the boards, and now we have a majority of board members that are not only not employees or retirees and not affiliated with the city, but they're actually professionals in pensions, investments, why am I drawing a blank? In underwriting, all the things where people have to know about choosing the right assumptions, actuaries, and they are doing an incredible job. I sit with the pension boards, I'm the council liaison to the pension boards, and it's amazing to see the different caliber of questions that are being asked now and the difference in how they're handling it. So I think that's going to be a big change in the pension system.
Pete, I have two related questions. One is it legal, is it possible for San Jose to have a consortium, for lack of a better word at the moment, with some of the other cities in the county who are facing similar problems with the pensions, and collectively, poor choice of words, work together to try to change the pension nightmare? Question part one. And if that's not possible, will there be a natural fallout if San Jose succeeds? What do you predict is going to happen with the other cities?
So first question first, we are the only government agency in the South Bay area that has its own pension system. All of the others belong to CalPERS. And CalPERS has its own huge problem. So they're collaborating on creating and hopefully someday fixing their problem in CalPERS. San Jose is different. San Jose, San Francisco, Fresno, San Diego, San Bernardino County, Los Angeles, we all have independent systems. I can tell you that I get emails continuously from people. Everybody is watching what San Jose is doing because we are basically going to court knowing that case law is against us and arguing for why case law needs to be changed. Because the case law that the other side is relying on all were created in the 30s and 40s. Pre-collective bargaining, pre-Myers-Milius-Brown Act, pre all the employees' rights, and now we actually have unions that want to agree to reforms, and they're being prohibited in doing that because of existing law. So we're hopefully going to have agreements from some of our core unions, and we're going to go to the courts and say, this is why it's important to change the law, because this is what will happen to us if it doesn't. And I can tell you almost every other system is waiting and watching what we do, and I think that you're going to see a huge, huge wave of change when we win. And I'm very sure we will.
This may be an unfair question because it doesn't just apply to San Jose, but my concern is all of this effort at sustainability, smart growth. San Jose just won an award for being this great smart growth city, and basically what that does is a couple things. One is it's affecting our private property rights, and number two, we're spending a lot of money chasing something, global warming, that really is not a considered science. So my question to you is, why are we wasting money on one hand when we don't even have the money to spend? And I know you get grants and things like that, but it's kind of spending money to lose money.
Right, but remember, a grant just means you take your wallet from this pocket and you move it to this pocket. That's really all a grant means. It's a state grant or a federal grant, it's still your money. It's just what pocket it's coming out of. You know, I've asked similar questions. Now, I don't think anyone would disagree that conserving natural resources is a good idea. You know, if you can recycle, recycle. If you can use less water, use less water. I mean, that's a prudent thing to do. In fact, that's pretty much a conservative value. But there's some craziness going on. Like the City of San Jose will pay for every single building it builds an extra $150,000 to $250,000 to get a plaque on the wall that says that it's energy efficient. So I asked last year, I said, can't we in this budget crisis just know that we're doing the right thing in building efficient buildings and saving energy and not buy the plaque? And we could have saved $1 million last year. The council told me I was crazy. What I'm really worried about are some of the crazy things like the BCDC. I can't remember what that stands for, but it's basically a group that's worried about sea level rise. And what they're saying is that anybody that's within X number of whatever the sea level rise is going to be, that we lose our land, our rights to our land, and our ability to, you know, the city councils and the counties, we have the ability to zone and do those other entitlements. And basically we'll take that away from the cities and say that all development in those areas has to move out, which means all of North San Jose would have to be vacated and the property would no longer be usable. And that's an effort that's going on right now, being funded with your tax dollars to take away property rights from individuals who own property and take the legislative police powers away from the government agency San Jose, who is supposed to do that. So that's a big threat. And in fact, it's such a big threat that, believe it or not, the head of the unions, the South Bay Building Trades Council, Neil Struthers, came to me in my office and says, Pete, I finally found something we can work on together. We got to do something about BCDC because it's going to put all of San Jose out of business and all of our workers out of business. And that's a message I keep trying to get across is what's good for business and what's good for the government is good for union workers because they'll still have jobs. You know, I'm not anti-union, I'm just anti-union tactics, which is a whole other thing. So we need to really work on those issues.